we going? Where is PKI going? And incidentally, it turned out just last few days ago, I discovered that there's a company called Vadis dealing with PKI-related subjects in the UK. This is a broad scope, both from technical research and basic science point of view, as well as applications and so on. So I've taken the liberty of putting together a few things, and then a few things I'm personally investigating in the recent times. Just one aside mention about Vadis is that in 2001-2, when the PKI was set up and CCA office was set up in Delhi, I happened to be in Delhi in the DRDO as head then, and I was invited to for the inaugural what's called the root certificate for the CCA then Dr. K. Gupta function, and I was given one certificate for attending the function, and I hold it memorably in my locker somewhere. So we have come a long way in this country. So let me see. I will just take about 40 minutes, and maybe you have about 5 minutes of interaction possible. And so I might skip a few, but it's good to put a lot of things as it's happening, both in the research world and in the application world. And these span essentially what I call digital evolution threads, and this you will see some threads. And this is typical, incidentally, yesterday's tutorials have been really far-reaching. Very connected directly, some indirectly to this business of PKI. So in that spirit we must take it, because as the world of science and technology evolves, you get some new things, and then you get the old things merging with the new things, and so on. This often happens in science. So in particular, the second bullet says that all the things which are there expanded, these are all the acronyms associated with the PKI. There are lots of applications which are traditional, emerging, and then there is this business of blockchains and the buzzwords of today. It's a brother discipline called cryptocurrencies and so on. And then, because of these developments, there may be some newer ways of looking at this business of PKI itself. Public infrastructure may morph or may coexist with many other types of infrastructures which would be needed in the coming decades. And then there is this research, let's call it foundations, which have to do with different types of signatures. In particular, we're talking about digital. And these different types of signatures are warranted by different types of use cases, scenarios, and so on, which have been visualized in the research world much earlier than they have come to be in existence. So that's always the case with scientific research, which anticipates decades ahead. So this is a technical departure which I will take towards the end. This will be the heavier part of the thing, which is ongoing kind of research in the world, and some of which are going to be very relevant to the forms of this. And finally, to say what's Vadis, PKI, I'll just quickly expand: public infrastructure, trusted third party, trusted key generator, and to these I add, I'm prone to adding some typical academic freedom, newer terms. I call this trust as a service, PaaS. Then PAA stands for proof as service, and this comes from blockchain and cryptocurrency arena. And then the PKM as a service means public key management as a service. Okay. So you might get these new words, new systems in some coming decades. I'll not be surprised if somebody takes these words in. So the threads, there are many threads. I would call three fundamental pillars. One arising from out of the thread of what we know as the database management systems, and then the distributed versions of them called distributed database management systems, which have led to this today's paradigms of blockchains. And similarly, see, these left sides are the antecedents of this arrow statements, origins in computer science first two quite some time ago. Database systems coming from computer science, eCache coming from cryptography, and so led to cryptocurrencies. And the PKI is warranted by establishing systematization of the digital signature phenomenon as an infrastructure. This might lead to something what I call trust systems infrastructures. So this is a new word, which is quite okay. Now I'll see there will be many threads. So obviously many fields are going to be there, and that's how you have heard about many fields in the tutorial and also some papers. Okay, but how they all gel? It's not all about the present form of PKI with the present forms of digital signature primitives and the present forms of digital signature primitives embedded into processes of management and governance. It's about different forms of things which will begin to make their appearance, coexist, sometimes blend together, and sometimes depart and stand on their own right. So, because you have many functionalities like these different. Okay, maybe we don't have points here. It doesn't part up to them. Anyway, it doesn't part. Huh? Oh. Okay. So all these functionalities, clearly they are self-descriptive names, but all of this are some part. The first part, accountability, auditability, authority, anonymity, governance, and I call it to add to A or GH, I put hype. These are social. Privacy, authenticity, integrity, non-retrievability are typical cryptographic functionalities assured by cryptography, and then there are these two types of cryptography which come into play. And they warrant the establishment of systematization called public infrastructure. The other threads are the way we handle information, and in a secure manner, obviously, is I just categorize them into some hardware, some software, some systems, and so on, and some conceptual entities like trust. So tokens, money, finance, lockers, trust. Some of them are hard substances, some of them are conceptual, like trust. So you have the corresponding establishments which or let's say instruments which cater to them, dongles, wallets, money transactions. That's why I put ... root for many things. Finance, and then of course the lockers which are supposed to hold your assets, digital assets, which are certificates, contracts, and all kinds of things. See, all these have been talked about, they will be talked about in this context. So just list them for convenience. Okay, now there will be another big threat coming from this, the blockchain arena and or its earlier instantiation called the cryptocurrencies arena, which gave the image to the notion of blockchains. There is a need to be cognizant of what happens there. Well, it's nothing about PKI directly, okay? But all the same, I take the liberty of airing a few comments about this notion of blockchains and cryptocurrencies. Bear with me. Of course, this is one. There is a relationship to PKI. You must take it from me. But second thing, of course, is I've been lucky or so to talk about these things, also study these things in the recent times. Thanks to again many engagements of this kind. In the same place itself, we had PKI, we had blockchains, we had cryptocurrencies and blockchains, we had from IoT, those things, and so on. But take it from me that these are all what are going to lead to newer forms of the trust systems like PKI. And that's the reason I put a few slides on this. Just a little expository material. There are lots of, again, huge number of material, huge size of material in this, both from technical and technological considerations, as well as trade and commerce considerations. There are plenty. academia would like to simplify and investigate to the basis matter and so on. So in that sense, there are a few points which emerge, which are listed there. The work factor part I will come to later. And, so there is something about holding in a public ledger transactional information. The transactions be it purely informational, like sending an email, agree to come for a meeting, contractual obligations, and what I call purely informational content, together with purely financial content and a mixture thereof. Purely financial content is checks and advisors and money transfers and all kinds of things. But some of the purely contracts may require sale and acquisition, purchases, and so on, both forms of content. You engage into dialogues which are informational, and then you enter into payments and other systems which are financial or fiscal transactional nature. And both of them will get mixed up in all of these things. And essentially all of these things you want to, suppose you want a world tomorrow, a kind of an idealized digital world where everything is visible to everybody and all this business of transparency, everything is there, but at the same time secure. So it's like the whole information world is exposed to everybody in a digital world, and that's what I call this, what I call it a utopian world. And but at the same time, you preserve whatever individual, you respect individual functionalities of integrity of information, the authentication of the owners of the information, of generators and recipients of the information, and then all the transactional things which are valid in court of law, etc. So absolutely conflicting requirements as human beings would want, but can we do something about it? And of course, the technical people have many answers, partial answers, some right, some wrong, some will work eventually. So these are captured in that what is called as a blockchain.